Hey, this is a podcast. No, wait, it's a comedy podcast. Well, we tried to make it a comedy podcast, and it's not meant to offend anyone. So don't get offended, okay? And wait, there's something else. Oh, yeah, yeah. Listener discretion is advised.
Audiomatic presents Our Last Week.
Hi, Kunaal.
Hi, Paul.
So, again, our work has parted us.
Yes.
You are shooting now for a month, and I am back in London and then traveling to Norway and other places for work. How are you managing without me?
It's hard, but I'm surviving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you the biggest Indian comic to ever travel to Norway? In the sense that you are a huge stand-up comedian in Norway, right? They love
You
you
know,
there.
that's the thing, and I'm trying to make Instagram posts that sort of suggest that. That I'm a giant in Norway. The reality is, this is why I can share this with our listeners, because they've almost become like friends. I won't say family, because most sensible people don't share anything with family. But because this is a close knit group of a few thousand people, there's basically one comedy club in Oslo that is very fond of me. Okay, that club fits about 250 people. This is a decent number of people, and in Norway, by Norway mathematics, it's a huge part of the population if you think about it. And
That's true. I mean,
yeah,
that's all
and
of
they-
them.
that's everyone in Norway, and that club keeps calling me once a year, sometimes twice a year. It's an interesting alliance because I could fill a room in Calcutta, I could fill a room in Bangalore, I could fill
Yeah.
somewhat of a room in Bombay, and I can fill a room in Oslo,
Yeah.
which is, when you look back on life, there are some things you can't plan for. This is like one of those things. And it's a tiny club with a, basement comedy club where 250 people come and see my shows.
Yeah.
But I think this is the age of exaggeration. I can extrapolate that and say I'm huge in Oslo,
Yeah.
because the world is what Instagram says it is, right? So I can say I'm massive in Oslo, whereas it's just one guy at one club in Oslo that liked what I did and said, "Hey, you should come back,"
Yeah.
and he paid for my tickets to go back.
No, but given their population and the ratio of the population to audience sizes and all of that, you're probably the biggest stand-up comedian in the country there.
Well, it depends, because I mean, Amit Tandon and various other comedians have played Oslo to Indian audiences and had
Right,
thousands of people. I am playing to
Right.
Norwegian audiences. Now, if you told me when I was growing up in Calcutta in 1989, Anuvab, one day you would be a comedian playing to 250 Norwegians, right by the Bering Sea, next to a shop
Yeah.
that sells whale meat, I'd be
Right.
like, I don't think that's where my life is going. But yeah, I mean,
That's
I mean,
where you
again,
find yourself.
yeah, and also the thing about India is it'll surprise you. Like, I will go out there and boast saying I'm huge in Norway, I'm the biggest Indian comedian in Norway, and then there'll be some other Indian comedian who will be much bigger that we don't know.
Right.
That's the thing. If you have 1.3 billion people, there's going to be some Indian person in Norway
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
huge, who does many more sellout tours. That's not me.
Yeah.
But in India, we always say this, na? Like, India's first, transgender juggler. And then we have so
Left-handed.
many people, left-handed, India's first left-handed transgender juggler. Till one person be like, excuse me, hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
I've been juggling my whole life. I'm left-handed. I've been trans since I
In
was
fact,
2.
I only have a left hand.
Yeah, I only do it with the left hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another person will show up saying, I've got no hands. I've got an artificial left hand.
Yeah.
And my parents are trans. I am trans. I've been juggling for years. So that's the thing about 1.3 billion people. Where the moment you say India's only, somebody's going to say,
Yeah.
one second. What's
एक minute. Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah. You're India's only what? I've been that for
yeah.
a long time. I think you should only say the country is only if you come from a small population, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
If you come from a small country, you look around, say you come from one of those tiny West Indian islands. Say you come from Antigua or Barbuda. Antigua is probably large. Like you come from a tiny island, you look around and you're like, yeah, I'm probably the country's only werewolf.
But in India, it wouldn't work.
In your own village, there'll be 3 other werewolves, and then there'd be a court case.
Yeah.
That's
But I think
yeah.
I think you need to be very specific when you say biggest comedian. You have to get down to like real specificity and saying the only person from who has roots in Calcutta with a surname Pal, who
Yeah,
is
yeah,
of middling height.
yeah, balding, yeah. But
Balding.
even then, you'll be down to at least 9 other people.
9 to 12, yeah.
Yeah, you would have brought it down, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
But not eliminated, yeah.
You wouldn't have eliminated everyone. That's the thing. Years ago, remember, we actually met on the film. We did a film called Loins of Punjab Presents by the great Manish Acharya. And I remember for the longest time, after the film became a hit, they were looking for different ways to keep the ads running, right? So, first it said India's highest grossing English language comedy.
Right.
And then someone complained saying, no, there's another film that was India. So then they had to change it to India's highest growing English language comedy crossover
Released this
success.
year.
Released this year. India's highest
In the
grossing
month of
comedy
March, yeah.
in the month of March featuring Shabana Azmi. India's highest
Yeah.
grossing comedy. And then even then it was 4. India's highest grossing
Arey
comedy
yaar.
featuring
Yeah.
yeah, featuring Shabana Azmi with a small white dog.
Yeah.
There were 2. There's still one more.
Yeah.
Like, I did one with Shabana Azmi, which was released in July with a small dog, which is a
That
crossover
dog was
success.
not white. It was not white. That'll be the argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it'll be in court. So India's only is always tricky. Always tricky.
Always tricky.
So how are you, Kunal? How's the shoot going? You're back at work, yeah?
Yeah, I'm back at work. It's going well. It's going, it's going fine. Hectic.
Yeah.
Shoots are hectic, I think. It's a.
Shoots are hectic, but you're a popular actor. This is your job. Like, I don't think I've ever said this, but I don't particularly like stand-up comedy. I just know I'm reasonably good at it. I guess I'm okay at it, but I don't like it, because it's a tedious responsibility to go every night and make people laugh. It's a very
Yeah.
There's no other job like that, where
And
There's
it's
no
not
job.
a shared responsibility. The responsibility is only yours. Whereas with mine, the responsibility of entertaining is shared by multiple people.
the director fucked up the series. What'll I do?
That editor, man, he was a asshole. Yeah, he cut out all the. And what was that writing? So you can go.
Yeah.
And so many people are responsible for the audience to have a good time. Whereas you standing there alone on stage with that little light and mic.
Late
are
at night,
solely
nobody knows
responsible.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in a club and you're making all these people laugh. It's sort of like
It's too much responsibility.
it's a lot of work, for
They've left their homes. People don't leave their homes to go and watch a film anymore. They don't even, they don't. And here you have dragged people out in the cold. And now, there's a lot of pressure that this evening better be good.
yeah.
So it's too much pressure. Too much pressure.
And there's no other profession apart from maybe the Roman circus. In ancient Rome, let's say they took a slave and they put him in a thing, and it was the slave versus a lion. So the
Yeah.
mathematics are absolute. Like either the lion will die or the guy will die. Like you don't have any other job where the results are so absolute. Like he's either
Yeah.
going to make us laugh or not make us laugh. If you watch a play and you leave, it's sort of like, it's not bad, yeah. You could always say that play
That's why I've
was okay.
always felt that stand-up comedy and theatre should always be accompanied with lions. They because in the event that the play
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
stand-up act is not going well, you can always rely on lions or some other wild animals, to make sure that the
So
evening hasn't gone too badly. So like if the jokes are falling flat and all that stuff, the organizer just says, "Arey chodo yaar, lion ko
yeah.
chodo," and the lion
Yeah.
just comes out, eats the stand-up, and then everyone's like, "Yay!" And, "Oh, it's lovely." And they, yeah, it was a good evening.
Was the comedian funny? He's like, he was okay, but then the best bit was when he got eaten. That was the best bit.
Eaten was great. That was lovely. In fact, he didn't get fully eaten. Also, he's still alive, but he's lost his right hand. Now
Yeah.
he's a lefty now.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
India's only lefty
Yeah. India's
stand-up
only
comedian.
left-handed, half-eaten comedian. Yeah. Yeah.
Will be performing.
Yeah.
You must go for the show, yeah.
And then someone will be like, Arey, he's not India's only half-eaten lefty comedian. I saw one
Yeah.
guy last week only. He was also half-eaten by a lion. But he only had a right hand, na? This guy is India's
Yeah.
only left-handed half-eaten comedian.
Left-handed.
Oh.
Okay. That's why I feel that, entertainment shows in the past, especially in places like America, even in the UK, all over the Western world, they would rarely be one thing, Like the stand-up was the guy who'd come in the middle of the other acts and lighten up the thing, and then there'd be some dancers, there'd be animals, there'd be a magician. So you can choose, you can pick and choose what you like. Now with only a play or only stand up, there's too much pressure on the performer to be, exceptional. Whereas there it was spread around a little bit.
It was much better because there was nudity, there would be some
Yes.
dancing. There'd be a man and an animal. So it's usually a
Yeah.
walrus who is balancing a ball on his head,
Correct.
Some comedy,
Yeah.
and then maybe a sad poem or something. So you get a range throughout the evening.
Full range.
And even the comedian is thinking, see, after me there's a walrus. So
Yeah.
I'm not the last thing they're seeing tonight,
Correct.
So that's that.
The
these
pressure
things-
on you to be great is not there anymore, You can just be.
Correct.
Yeah.
The other thing is that as people, as comedians, people want to do bigger and bigger shows. As the years have gone by, I want to do smaller and smaller shows.
I guess fewer the people, it gets harder and harder.
That's true. That is true. Like, I don't know about your family. I guess people would consider you a funny guy, right?
Yeah, but now to sit in front of one person and just make them laugh is tough.
Like, both our partners don't laugh at a lot of things we say.
No.
And we claim to do this professionally, like
Yeah.
a lot of our...
And there's a huge difference of laughing at and with, So that is where
No, my partner is always laughing at.
Yeah.
So there's that, but beyond that also, I don't think that we are very good at our job. That's the other thing, like luckily with this podcast we have editors who can take a lot of this shit
Yeah.
out, like
Yeah.
like right now we are searching for something funny and we're failing. The older we're getting, we're failing more. So I haven't
Yeah,
cracked this,
yeah.
but what I'm getting at is that this is a very meaningless and high pressured profession.
Yes.
Like I'm saying, even a heart surgeon who's under a lot of
Right.
pressure because he's doing a multiple bypass has 30 other surgeons. A pilot has 2 other co-pilots.
Yeah.
What is this profession? This is nonsense.
Nonsense.
Kunaal,
Yes.
couple of other conundrums.
Yes.
I just flew in through Heathrow, as you know.
Right.
And at Heathrow Immigration, everybody that was there at Heathrow Immigration, immigration officers, were of Indian origin. And so there were 14 counters for immigration officers, and all 14 people doing immigration at Heathrow, at London, were of Indian origin. And I thought to myself, my conundrum was, do you think if you're an Indian person, you think you have some extra advantage if the immigration officer is of Indian origin, right? Like, obviously the officer is born and bred in Britain, but in your
Right.
head, do you think you have some extra leverage? So you go up to the guy, you're like, sir, hello, sir, kya ho raha hai? Like, do you think, do we think like that? Do we get more relaxed?
I guess that's a different kind of way of, as in you have this kind of feeling that you know where I come from, you know my deal and all that stuff, you know what it's like and all that. But as in maybe that person has no clue. They're just completely British people. They just happen to look Asian,
Yeah.
or from like the subcontinent or whatever it is. But you always, I mean, you make assumptions. Like you make assumptions. That,
Uh,
you'll to know, yeah, you'll
and
know
he'll
how it
understand,
is.
yeah. It's
He'll
not like
get it, yeah.
sir, your passport's expired.
अरे आप तो जानती हो मैडम.
Your passport's expired, man. I can't let you into the
Yeah.
country. It's like, array, I know it's expired, but boss, it's just you and me, boss. Array, what are you
Yeah.
saying? Where's your hometown? Your grandparents? Where Jalandhar? Where near Jalandhar? Outside Jalandhar? Where near that cycle shop? Behind the cycle shop? Oh. And he thinks that all that will work,
Yeah.
Whereas the visa officer is like, how much clearer can I be? Your passport has expired. You will be on a next plane back home.
At some level, you'd assume, I mean, because we make assumptions of there are more people of British, as in like more Caucasian people who'd be at these counters or who'd be manning the immigration desks. But when say like you were saying, like what if the reverse were to happen in India and you had white people as immigration officers here? Would that
Yeah.
be strange for Indians coming back?
Or other
And they
white
could
people
be
would.
and they could be white people who've spent all their life in India, raised in
Yeah.
Pondicherry or
But do you think
brought up.
those other white people will also try to get extra leverage? Like they'll be like,
Yeah.
your grandparents are from Surrey. Where in Surrey? Oh, near the pub, the old horse. Oh yeah, my granddad used to go there. So your passport is expired. Yes, but we're
Yeah.
both from Surrey, aren't we? Really, where are you from? You're from Surrey, aren't you? So the reverse would also be,
Maybe.
or what would be absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
amazing is if you were an Indian guy going up to an immigration counter, and because we make racial and cultural stereotypes, you would think that the Indian guy will understand your Indianness, right?
Right.
So you go to the Sikh gentleman and you're like, boss, so your passport is expired. Yeah, I know passport's expired, but boss, Daljit Dosanjh, you like Daljit Dosanjh? We're both into Daljit Dosanjh, so come on, brother, just stamp it now. You wink at him and he's like, I don't know who Daljit Dosanjh is, but I can't let you in
Yeah.
the country. But this is the problem with cultural stereotyping. What if there's a white immigration officer who's huge into Daljit Dosanjh? That's why
Yeah.
I think if you're trying to make a bond, you shouldn't do it because it's Indian to Indian. You should do it with everyone.
Yeah.
Then you just go to any counter at Heathrow and be like, so your passport's expired. Yeah, but tell me, how good was Daljit Dosanjh's last album, brother? Brother to brother. Bolna. And suddenly you see this white guy saying it was quite good actually. It's my favorite album.
Yeah, it was very
Suddenly
good.
Suddenly you're like, you like saag paneer? You like saag paneer? And the white guy's like, I made saag paneer this morning. He's like, welcome to Britain. Like, don't worry about the passport. It's fine. Come. Sat Sri Akal. And to you, brother. Like, I'm saying if you're going to, don't just do it to Indians. Do it with everyone
Yeah.
and see how
Do
far
it
you
all,
go.
all.
Kunal, we have some
Yes.
excellent conundrums for our listeners. 3 excellent conundrums. Our first conundrum is from a gentleman called Jasim.
Hello, Jasim.
And hi, Jasim. My friends recently informed me that I interrupt them as I don't let them complete their sentences. So I began trying to refrain from telling my story during their story as they were telling it. However, I realized that by the time they finished their story, I had forgotten what I had to say. This unsettles my brain as it is now trying to remember what my story was. What should be done here? Excellent conundrum.
Oh.
I think as Indians, we interrupt each other a lot. Like, I don't ever think I finished one story at a dinner or anything.
I think that, generally as Indians, I think this is a very Western thing where, it's rude to interrupt and you want people to finish their point and finish their story and all of that. But in India, I think the way conversation goes, it's more like a battle. It's more
It's a
like a
battle.
war.
It's a war.
It's about getting your word in. It's not. It's very rarely is it about listening to other people, learning from their life experiences or their stories or whatever it is. It's all about, like you're saying that, and then I'm going to jump on that, and I have something better than you. So I think
Yeah.
that generally we look at conversations more as, listen, you think that is entertaining, listen to this, but you haven't
Yeah.
even heard what exactly that person's saying. So I guess at
It's a
some
battle.
level, yeah, because there's so many people, yes, families are large, classrooms are large, you can't be heard in your own classroom, your group of friends is generally massive, and everyone is trying to shout on top of it. So generally the sound levels are higher, everyone's trying to get their word in, so it becomes difficult to be heard. Otherwise you just become a quiet person, and you just take a back seat and listen to everybody. But if you are a person who's engaging, in our country, I think you end up
So,
interrupting a lot.
so when people say in India this person's an introvert, what it means is that he tried to have a normal conversation, but everyone shouted him down, so he just gave
Yeah.
up. He's
Like,
not an
forget it.
introvert. He's he's a perfectly normal person.
Yeah,
He
he
just
also
tried to
has
say,
stories.
yeah, yeah. In India, he's like, Are, he's the bookish type, he's an introvert. No, he's just a
Yeah.
person who wanted to finish a sentence and you didn't let him.
Yeah.
That's why he just gave up. He's a very intelligent person. But it's
Very
such,
funny observations of life, but he doesn't say anything.
it's so true though that it is a war. Like anytime you're at a dinner or anything, somebody said, so on Thursday I was going to Darjeeling. Arey, nothing. I was in Darjeeling this morning. I went there this morning.
Yeah.
There'll always be some bully who will always just come in with a better story. And then third person will be like, Darjeeling has gone to hell, huh? It's just traffic, Land Rovers.
Yeah.
And then you've lost what you were going to say. So that obviously that person becomes quiet at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But Jasim's conundrum is different. He's like, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'll forget what I'm saying. So I have a solution for Jasim. Can he just say, excuse me, can I just interrupt for 1 second? Can I just interrupt? Can I please interrupt? He just should seek permission for interruption. I just need to interrupt for 1 second because I'll forget what I'm interrupting about. Can I just interrupt? Like if, don't you think that's better? Like if Jasim just had a little bit of space to interrupt.
I think that what you're saying is use the term sorry to interrupt. And that's where this thing, and then just go ahead and interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say that, and I guess
Yeah.
that like, and then you end up talking for 15 minutes straight, and then saying sorry, just back to you. You please continue.
Yeah. And then that
person has forgotten about
guy's forgotten.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just all Indian news channels, no? That's how they work, no? Because the host needs to
Absolutely.
be heard. So he's like, sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to say, what's going on in Assam?
They don't apologize, they just interrupt. And I guess that if you're bred on this culture of basically just like these news channels, your normal, everyday dinner table conversation, everyone is interrupting everyone constantly. It's a tennis match, I think one way to deal with it is that, listen, if I'm interrupting you, please go ahead and interrupt me also. It's okay. I'm used to it. You should be able to get interrupted and interrupt also.
It's
Otherwise,
man
just you have
versus
to-
lion. It's the same thing. It's man versus lion.
Yeah.
It's because as a child, your parents are like, just make your voice heard. Huh? You go there, if the other boys are shouting, just shout louder.
Yeah.
It's either that, or you go the Gandhi way, where Gandhi wanted to be heard, over the British, over other Indians shouting. So he just said, I won't eat. So then you
Yeah.
do something dramatic like that, then everyone looks at you, like,
Correct.
I'm just not going to wear a suit anymore. I'm going to roam around in loincloth and not eat. Then everyone turns to you like, look at this guy, man, he's not eating. Then you have to take the focus away from the words with some drastic measure.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
look at that guy, he's not talking, but he's just set himself on fire. So then you'll notice, So otherwise, being heard over the noise is very tricky in India.
Correct. Then you're not an interrupter, you're a disruptor.
You're disruptor.
You're
You're a full disruptor.
yeah.
Full disruptor. Kunal,
Yes.
conundrum has come in from a lady, Sakshi.
Hi, Sakshi.
And hi, Sakshi. Great conundrum. Hey Palan ki RK, recently I had come across this beautiful planner. She wrote beautiful planner in capitals that I loved and I thought of getting it for myself. But later I thought I'll buy it for my boyfriend. That's sweet. So I got the same planner but personalized it for him, got his name printed on the hardcover, etc., and ordered it. Oh, now, she says, we broke up a few days back and I received the planner today in the mail. What the fuck should I do? She did in capitals. With this beautiful capitals planner that my ex's name is engraved on it, all capitals. Can't be used because of his name, can't destroy it because it is too pretty. What the fuck should I do? This lady, superb Sakshi. She's understood the meaning of this podcast. This is really affecting her. Keep the planner. Keep the planner. What do you mean? I mean, keep the planner.
I mean,
can you remove an engraving? Can you take it back to a shop?
well, if it's from one of those online things that allows it to be returned, I guess that's one way to do it. But this actually, what it makes me think of, and it's quite. I mean, it's quite poetic that it's been engraved on something, on a planner. Firstly, planners themselves are sort of extinct. I mean, very few people actually use planners. But it's sweet. I mean, it's a nice sort of retro sort of gift to give someone. I'm sure people still use them, but for me, I think what it becomes is a sort of tombstone, and that's why I've never been a fan of people getting buried, in any case, because the tombstone is sort of like a constant reminder of a place that you have to go to pay respect to something or somebody that was or who was a part of your life, and it's physicalizes it. It's like it's constantly there, and it's like it needs maintenance, and like rather than just that person be in your thoughts or in your whatever part of you.
Can't this diary become that tombstone? Like, for example,
that's what I'm thinking, that like can't it be a tombstone to that relationship?
yeah. So, I mean, but the only problem is if she wants to use it as a beautiful diary, then it's a problem. But she then has to use it as a grave. Like, a grave is also not a place to play cricket and tennis, right? So,
right.
It is what it is. Now, if she wants practical use of the planner, then this fool's name is going to be there on the planner, which makes it difficult because she'll be reminded of this fool. It's like, I suppose it's like a permanent tattoo of your lover. It doesn't work out.
Right.
But let's say if I've engraved, in big letters, Aradhana on my hand, and Aradhana has left me and run away with, Rahul Dravid or something, then I've got Aradhana all over my hand, and I've constantly explained it to people,
I agree, and I agree, because I think that, like if you feel this relationship hasn't gone well, or you've got something to learn about, the person you pick to spend time with, then it's a constant reminder. In fact, the planner becomes a reminder. Which some planners do. I mean, the planner does remind you, right? So this planner is reminding you that don't pick assholes like this. So it's a constant reminder, and the planner is doing exactly what its job is to plan a better partner. Like, don't plan this kind of person into your day, is basically what the planner says.
That's brilliant. So it's reminding you of your immediate tasks for the next 3 days, but it's also reminding you of the shit of your past.
And it's saying, listen, you fool, this is the person that you chose to spend time with, just reminding you not to plan this into your week.
And by the way, on Thursday at 7 you have a yoga class. It's also that.
It's also that.
Kunaal, my final conundrum of the week. It's a very small conundrum. Now, when I just took a long flight, I took a 13-hour flight from Calcutta to Dubai to London, watched a lot of movies, and I just realized, is it possible to walk down an aeroplane and watch all these hundreds of people watching movies and not judge them?
No, it's not possible.
Not possible, right? Because as I was walking, someone was watching Suryavanshi, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of person are you? I'm immediately judging him. And he could just be catching up on Suryavanshi. It's a Rohit Shetty film about 3 policemen that saved Bombay. But the other problem I have is, first I'm judging him, then I am my worst enemy, because then I stop in the aisle pretending like I'm waiting for the toilet, but I start watching Suryavanshi also. You know, you've never done that? You're like, how? Look at me,
Yeah.
I'm so much culturally superior. I'm watching HBO. And look at this guy, he's watching Surya. Oh, Gulshan Grover is in it. You know, then you're sucked in. I can't take my eyes off other people's movies on a plane.
Yeah, I mean it happens. I get into what I'm watching. I generally catch up on a lot of trash myself, and sometimes if they have some films that I've whatever. But generally my eyes do kind of drift left, right, and even to the seats in front just to check. Sometimes I find myself even just like sitting up in my seat a little bit just to check out. And also what it lets you do is that it helps you decide what to watch sometimes. Like let's see what other trash is out there, so without having to browse through that menu, you're already seeing what trash other people are watching. So it kind of narrows it down and you say, they've got this, okay, maybe I
Yeah.
can watch this. So that it helps me in that way sometimes. So even when I'm walking down an aisle, I don't look at their faces as much as their screens. And I'm constantly saying, okay, he's watching this garbage, that's garbage. Oh, this is interesting. What is this show? And then you finally, so it does help in decision making, but sometimes I do end up watching what's happening on next to me.
Have they ever done
watch the
an
screen.
experiment to say whether it's a good idea to have, 600 screens going at once? Like, have they ever put a person in a room and put 6 screens with 6 different films and asked him, which one are you actually watching? That's what happens on a plane. So they give us 500
Yeah.
screens, and you're walking around being like, oh, I want to watch that. Or what's that? Why is he watching that? So I think there's got to be some psychological experiment where if you are watching something,
I actually miss. I don't miss actually. I definitely don't miss. But I don't know if you remember the time when we used to travel in buses and sometimes in planes as well. Where they would have a common screen at the end of the thing, and then they'd have just one screen pop down from the center, and they'd have like maybe 7 or 8 screens. And then they just play a movie, and this would be the movie for the flight. And you'd be like, shit, I didn't want this movie. Or everyone would be like, arey yaar, now. And in the bus, the thing is, no one has headphones, right? So everyone's just subjected to whatever movie it is that's playing. And it would be some garbage, but you'd just end up watching it, right? And that's why I feel that forced cinema is actually something we've lost, The fact that a lot of our cinema from the past, I don't know whether it worked or didn't work, but it was forced on us. And I think that that's what's lacking in today's world, is that the cinema is not forced enough on people. It was as shit back then. It was just that it was shoved down people's throats in buses, in planes, on television. There was only that. So people had to. It was like force fed into people, and then people became stars and household names because they were just force fed those things. And I think today, because you have the choice of switching and choosing, and like everyone's watching 40,000 different things, no one's being force fed. And I'm not saying I miss it, but I think that that is a cultural shift that's happened.
the last thing I'm going to say is that I do miss it. I miss the days when I had to do. I do miss it. I may sound like an uncle, but I really miss the days where I had to do a 12-hour flight, and
Yeah.
there was one big fat TV that would come
Yeah.
down, and
Yeah.
British Airways would, or Air India would play whatever. Although I have to
Exactly.
say, the number of people watching Suryavanshi by Rohit Shetty was higher than any other film.
So basically, they were still on that bus.
Everyone, yeah. So people had self-selected the film
The pain.
that you were forced to watch. Maybe that is democracy.
Right.
That you self-select the
Yeah.
thing that they are giving you anyway.
Basically, it's pick your torture.
Pick your torture. You picked your own torture. Yeah. Yeah. Kunal, this has been our last week.
It has.
Thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for sending in your conundrums. We've got one excellent conundrum about an auto rickshaw driver that we've been meaning to get to for about 3 weeks now, which we haven't. But we'll do it next week, promise.
We will.
And as always, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/our last week, or you can absolutely write to us at our last week at audiomatic.in.
Please do.
Kunal, before you go, last words from you. Are you looking forward to your day of acting?
It's a night shoot, so it's a night of acting.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to your...
No, I don't like night shoots. It's just it's difficult. It's difficult.
I did one recently. I was in my head, I was fast asleep by 4 o'clock in the morning. I was gone.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do.
Well, let's hope you stay awake for the sake of your viewers. Because just remember, when this comes out on streaming, if you're not awake, the viewers much later cannot be expected to be awake to watch it.
That's true.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
You were listening to Our Last Week, produced by Rajesh Tahil and Avdut Khanolkar, hosted by Anuvab Pal and Kunal Roy Kapoor, assistant producer Akanksha Kadam.